What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, yada yada yada. It's Joey. I'm gonna tell you guys right off top, I'm recording outside at the location that's supposed to be my garden for another channel I'm working on. So if you hear wind and birds chirping and shit, just bear with me. I got the idea to make this episode off of something I was wondering. I was thinking about making a series of episodes about what the real problems in the black community are, because I hear a lot of YouTube videos that end with little silly things like, and that's why we don't make it as a people, and that's what's wrong with us, and that's why black folks don't win. And these things are usually the stupidest little things. And I wanted to kind of dispel. I almost kind of want to be like a Penn and Teller. I don't know if you guys, anybody listening, remembers Penn and Teller. They were these two magicians, and their claim to fame was they demystified a lot of magician tricks. They would go in, they would explain how they would do stuff, and they also had another show, I believe it was called Bullshit, which hell of a title, where they would just go in and just pan certain myths and certain ideas that people just believed as certain notions. There was another show called Mythbusters that was like this too, and they kind of did it on more scientific notions and myths. But what I wanted to do was, like I said, there are a whole lot of things that a lot of black talking heads say are the problems with black society, and I've made my own list of what I feel are the actual problems with black society. And today I wanted to speak on one of them, and that is our lack of checks and balances. Now, in America, when you do something that knowingly causes harm to the greater existence of the country, you can be found guilty of treason. And treason, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like off the top of my head I know the textbook definition of treason, but basically it's when you stab the country in the back. You sell government secrets, you endanger American people, you do something that puts the country in a lower position or in harm's way. And the penalty for treason can be jail time or it can be death. It's like being a traitor. Now, there is no system of checks and balances for black America. You can sell black America out as a black person time and time again, and not only will we not really deal with you, we won't even really shun you for the most part. And to me, this is in my opinion, just like in hell, because there's different circles of hell, but just like in the lowest, worst circle of hell is saved for the blasphemers, the people who mislead people, people who spread not truths and lies. Hell is, the worst part of hell is saved for those people. You would think it would be the rapists and the adulterers and the killers. They have their place. But the worst spot in hell is saved for people with big influence that mislead people, because they have the biggest effect on the most amount of people. We have in our community, it has become a career path to hustle and mislead the black community. And I know a lot of this gets left on the shoulders of the church because they have earned that title. But I feel like a very, very close second, if you want to be a black person who hustles and tricks the black community, a very close second is the very group that points their finger at the black church all the time, which is the black consciousness groups. Now, I can just ramble off a couple of names right now. Dr. Umar Johnson, Brother Polite, Dr. Boyce Watkins. These are three people who are known hustlers in the community. Dr. Umar Johnson collected a whole bunch of money from a lot of hopeful young black moms who wanted to put their kids in an Afrocentric school, and you ain't really heard from his ass again. Brother Polite been scamming on everything from land deals to, he's one of them status correction niggas. He's one of them niggas that wear a that wear a fez like that little monkey in Aladdin and try to convince black people that if you change your shit to a Moor or change your name and get a status correction, that you can be above the law and have diplomatic immunity. Now, to be fair, niggas that fall for that shit kind of do deserve to get scammed, but scammer's a scammer nonetheless. And then finally, we get to the one who I hate more than anything, which is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Now, Dr. Boyce Watkins is a caricature in the black scammer society that is becoming more and more prevalent. And this type of scammer is, rather than the church scammer that tricks you by getting you to believe in their version of God and their version of heaven and their version of religion, or the regular black consciousness scammer who gets you all hyped up on red, black, and green and bean pies and shit while scamming you and stealing your money. This type of scammer is the worst because they fool willing young black people and they sell them on the idea of financial literacy and do-for-selfism and pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. And the reason why these kind of black people are the worst is because they mislead good-willing, good-intentioned, hard-working black folk. These are black folks that got a little bit of money, that are showing willingness to become more financially literate and become more responsible. And these are the people you take advantage of. Now, when I say we have no system of checks and balances, I mean that for everything from people like Dr. Boyce Watkins, Brother Polite, and Dr. Umar Johnson, to the murder of Nipsey Hussle. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. Dr. Boyce Watkins, Brother Polite, and Umar Johnson, I named those names specifically because those are three black people who their scamming is verified. Money has changed hands for promises of goods and services. Those goods and services have never been rendered. For Dr. Umar Johnson, scam. You put a big scam stamp on his head. Brother Polite got actual people calling in saying he scammed them. He got actual people he's dodging. Giant scam stamp. Dr. Boyce Watkins is a puppet for a whole Asian man who came out himself and just was like, yeah, I own Boyce. He's one of my avatars. I use him to speak to the Negroes and sell them shit. Flat out openly admitted that he's selling a goddamn no-way product, an Amway product. Just selling people bullshit, selling them calendars and shit to make them feel like they're being financially responsible. And these are black folks that barely got 2 pennies to rub together. These are your people you're scamming. It's not like you're going and I used to be, well known amongst a lot of scammers for little light shit. And the general rule was you don't scam your own damn people. You don't scam poor people. You don't scam people that are going to notice it's gone or can't afford to not have it there. They've suffered enough. Robin Hood didn't rob the damn poor and give to the rich. But what frustrates me is when that person who is a known scammer comes out and officially scams and has been outed, you don't get run out of town like you do with white folk. All these people have to do is lay low for a few months, usually about 6 to 8 months, and then come right back in the community, usually with the exact same tired spiel that got them caught up. Dr. Boyce Watkins hasn't missed not one video. He got accused by some people. He was able to just ignore it, shrug it off, and keep going and bringing in new suckers. There's still people quoting Dr. Boyce Watkins to this day because they like the shit he said. Even though he's a known scam artist. It's known that everything spewing out of his mouth is coming from the movement of an Asian man's hand that's up his ass. We all know. This man got a number of lawsuits filed against him for scamming people and doing things. Keep in mind, the dude that's teaching you about black business cannot afford to pay his employees $100. As Yvette Cardinale said, $100, nigga. We really got to start thinking about that. We have no system of checks and balances. Now, if this was in the street and a nigga told you he was going to front you and he going to put you on with big work, but that nigga can't afford his McDonald's meal, you would know that's a red flag. Dr. Umar Johnson searching and struggling looking for land in Africa with with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he just can't find the land in Africa. White folks buying a property all day. Chinese buying a property all day. He just can't find the land. He's walking around the desert for 40 years. Just go look at a picture of Brother Polite. Would you let that nigga sell you something at your doorstep? If Brother Polite came to your doorstep and knocked on your door to try to sell you something, you would go grab your gun first. Because he look like the type of nigga that'll pull a kick push on you. A push door. Now, how that relates to Nipsey Hussle. I asked my woman this one day. This is right after he got killed. I said, you notice when when a crime is committed of this high a caliber to white people, you will see a white sheriff on a podium, on TV, on all the important channels. You'll turn on channel 4, channel 5, channel 7, channel 13. It'll be on all the channels. There will be a white sheriff on a podium telling you exactly what done happened. Telling you what suspects they have, who's a suspect as opposed to being a person of interest, what occurred. They'll start off with a timeline at exactly 3:30 a.m. this morning. We happened upon, you know exactly what happened. And most importantly, this gets back to checks and balances, you know what is considered official canon from the police reports and what is just hearsay and bullshit. And by the time that police report is over, even if they haven't found the person or solved the case yet, you feel secure that they are on the case. We've seen this happen hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. That cop will look right in the camera, look you dead in your eye and go, we're going to find the person who did this shit. We are on the case. Look at how efficient they were to break down that Jussie Smollett bullshit. Look at how efficient they caught the dudes. All they had was one photo of some niggas in some hoodies. They caught them niggas who were almost in Lagos, Nigeria. They pulled them off the plane and sent them back. Go kill Nipsey. Who the fuck knows? But what do we get in Black America? See, because that Jussie Smollett thing, 2 white people were implicated. So every expense was used to clear those 2 white people's names. And it turns out them 2 white folks didn't even exist. Now, what happened with Nipsey's case? Do you know anything about Nipsey's case other than the fact that Nipsey is dead? You got a grainy camera from TMZ. You got a grainy camera from eons away, and an arrow pointing at you telling you that's Nipsey, and an arrow telling you that's Eric Holder. The only way you can identify either of them people in that picture is through their outfits, barely. So really you can identify through colors. The only people that can eyewitness identify Eric Shitty Cuz Holder at the scene of the crime is Nipsey, who's gone, the other man who magically got arrested for meeting up with Nipsey, and a third man whose name I do not know and whose whereabouts and status we do not know. We all in the black community heard a story that went along the lines of Nipsey left his security and his safety to go to his store, which he normally does not go to because he's the owner. He doesn't work there Monday through Friday. He sporadically popped up at his store to greet a friend who had just gotten out of jail and help him get some clothes from the marathon. It was here that he was surprised and met by Shitty Cuz, who he sent away and accused of being a snitch, and this man came back and casually shot him and his crew. That's the story we were given. That was the entire reason, allegedly, for the story, was that Eric Holder was offended, was insulted, was disrespected. Now, see, that story raised a whole lot of questions. Like, if Nipsey goes there sporadically, and he happened to just go there from hearing the information that his friend got out and was going to be down there, how the fuck did Shitty Cuz know about this if they're not cool? Who would have told him for him to be there? There's no way he would have just happened to have been there. It's not like he works a regular shift there and he knew Nipsey was going to be there. So how would he know? So now we're hearing the stories changed from that to one of Nipsey's friends happened to get out of jail, never told Nipsey. He went down to the store just to happen to get some shirts from Nipsey's store at the behest of a family member, and he happened to see Nipsey there, and Nipsey was going to give him some shirts, which makes the story even stranger. Because then that would mean that we would have to assume that Nipsey just left his security detail on a whim and just happened to see that man there. This would mean that Eric Holder's happenstance of seeing Nipsey there is even more serendipitous for him. It's even more of a lucky incident, lucky coincidence. Because he wouldn't have even heard that Nipsey was going to be down there because that information wouldn't have dropped. But you don't know if either of these stories are true because everything you've gotten as a black person, you've heard from another nigga that heard from another nigga that heard. You don't even really know what's going on with this case. And you're not ever really going to know or even think you know until some white folks who have enough time to go behind a curtain and think of a good lie are going to come out and tell you some shit months down the line. And you're going to have to assume whatever they're saying is true, and you're going to have to take their word for it because you're not going to investigate that shit because who's got the time to do that? When black people get killed, when black people die, there's really not ever really an investigation. We got black folks that have died, have been found hanging with their hands tied behind their back, up on bridges in public areas. Hands tied behind your back, hanging from your neck, and they write it off as a suicide. Because who gives a shit? It's just a nigger. You think they're going to do something special because you're a famous nigger? No. They're going to sweep that shit right under the rug because they know you don't have to ever prove anything when it comes to crime in the black community. You can commit an assassination right in front of us in broad daylight on camera. The perfect counterintelligence cover-up is the fact that our black asses will make up stories for you. Think about it. What have you heard compared to what you actually know about that case? You've heard that Shitty Cuz was a police informant. So if he's a police informant, that means he's got priors, right? So wouldn't we be able to look up his record and figure out what he was in there for and how extensive his record was? I've heard stories that he's killed people. I've heard stories, I've heard fables. There's a plane going by. I've heard stories and I've heard fables. I've had nothing confirmed. I don't know shit about this guy. I've seen him in a couple of videos with Nipsey, so I'm assuming that they're friends. I don't know how they fell out. I haven't gotten any of this story, and you won't either until they get the story straight and give you something palatable that seems like something you'll believe. This happens all the time. They'll come out with a story. The shit won't really fly with people. They'll go back and regroup. But we don't have a system of checks and balances. When you lie to us as a community, we just let you come back. When you get caught lying, we don't oust you. Don't nobody excommunicate you from the black people. Don't nobody stop speaking to you. People will still do business with you, especially if you're making money. People will still do business with you. Just like R. Kelly. People knew R. Kelly, but black men and black women knew what R. Kelly was doing. We helped and enabled his black ass because he was making money. It's never fun trying to be the guy that detracts or shouts down the dude who's evil but is making money, because everybody's going to be leeching off that person. You got a whole community full of poor people, and you got one devious nigga that got some money, everybody's going to turn their head. And that goes for any community. Donald Trump is the white community's R. Kelly. But we have no system of checks and balances in our community. There's no penalty to pay for crossing us. There's no penalty to pay for disrespecting us or selling us out. Omarosa, who's not an African American, she is a Nigerian. But because she's black, she was able to come into America and do a whole lot of damage under our flag. Anything Omarosa did, she could hide and say, I'm a black woman. They're picking on me because I'm a black woman. Not because I'm Nigerian. I'm a black woman now. I was here. It was me, Rosa Parks, Ida B. Wells, Harriet Tubman, and Omarosa. And when she got kicked out the White House, finally, she tried to rally the Negroes. Had the nerve. People had the nerve to try to position her as maybe she was some sort of spook who sat by the door. Omarosa. It's almost like we don't want to believe when people sell us out, even when it's obvious. Everybody gets invited to the cookout. Everybody gets to touch our hair. We're everybody's black friend. There should be an APB out on niggas like Dr. Boyce Watkins in the black community. It should be known. Like, you know how there be those dudes that girls know are niggas that'll slip something in your drink type of dudes, or niggas that'll strong arm you in the alley type of dudes? Yeah. And they'll tell everybody, avoid that nigga. Now you got a tail. Avoid that nigga. He's creepy. You need to have that on these hustlers in the black community. Another airplane. Sorry, y'all. Same goes for Zaza Ali. There's a whole lot of black female hustlers pumping all that gender war shit, pumping all that feminist shit. They don't even be believing in that stuff. They just know that black women eat that shit up. And girl, if that's what you buying, guess what I'm selling today? And you fall for it. Half the time, a lot of these quote unquote black leaders and blacks, they don't even really be having their fucking lives together. They be regular ass people. Like, I'm the type of person where once I catch you lying on one thing, I'm gonna assume you lying on everything you can't prove. I want to know if Dr. Boyce Watkins is even a doctor at this point. Black folks know if you put letters in front of or behind a black person's name, anything that person says is true and inarguable. Oh, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. Okay, well, what kind of doctor? Oh, I'm a foot doctor. Word. Okay, but this is brain surgery we're doing here. But I'm a doctor. That's how we go. We don't even ask questions. And because we don't have a system of checks and balances when somebody does turn on us or sell us out, we don't have any system of checks and balances to even remember or know who the sellouts are. So you got a person like a Dr. Boyce Watkins, who is a known hustler of the black community, insinuating that Yvette Carnell is a hustler or an agent. And it's like, are you serious? And because we have no system of checks and balances, a system of checks and balances would allow us to go, wait a minute, let's look at this Rolodex. Looks like on this date, Dr. Watkins, you've been found of being guilty of high treason of the Negro community. You got caught working for that Asian man. You can't say shit. Who even let you in here? Is that brother polite? Have him arrested immediately. Go back and look at how many of these pro-black talkers got all kinds of scammer history on their rap sheets, man. That's not a coincidence. I can understand if you got in a bar fight or something when you was in college or something like that. Every last one of y'all got fraud on your reports? All of y'all? And it ain't never for frauding no white folk. I can understand if you got caught up with a credit card scheme and you was scamming some rich white folk. All right, man, cool. I'm not saying that's good, but them ain't my people. But you scamming other poor black people, that shows me that you think this shit's a lick. It's just too weird. We have no system of checks and balances. Some of you niggas need your asses beat. Some of y'all need your asses beat. Maybe that should be the system of checks and balances. If somebody just popped up at Boyce Watkins' house, put a pillowcase over his head and dragged him outside and beat his ass for like 10 minutes, maybe just beat him with some like pillowcases with bars of soap in them or something. And then afterwards, it's like, all right, man, you cool. You have a chance to start over. We beat your ass. It's over and done with. When I was a kid, my father used to count the swats before you got a spanking. Oh, you was acting up? You about to get 5 swats. And them swats will be the 5 hardest swats you ever got in your life. Be life-changing. But once them swats was over, here's your dinner. You still trying to get out tonight and go? Yeah, you can go now. You're fine. You paid your debt. You're good. We're not going to send you to bed without no food. You took an ass whooping. In gang culture. I ain't talking about when you see the op. I'm talking about when the homie violate. When it's violation. You ain't trying to kill that nigga, are you? How you going to learn a lesson from being dead? You just catch an ass whooping. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos like that. I know plenty of niggas like that. That had to catch somebody slipping for violating in the gang. Yeah, you the homie. But you ran. You ran from an ass whooping, but you ran into an ass whooping. You gonna pay that ass whooping. You the homie, but you got us caught up. All right, man, it's ass whooping time. And once that ass whooping's done, you don't get kicked out the gang. You don't get killed. They don't send you to jail. You just caught. They don't even make fun of you for it no more. It ain't even no beef no more. It's like, look, man, I done got my anger out on you. We straight now. Maybe it can be something like that. Maybe just catch an ass whooping and keep it moving. You see Dr. Boyce walk around one of his latest videos with a big ass knot on his head. Whew. Yeah, guys, when I was getting my PhD, hold on, I gotta catch my breath, man. They kicked your boy all in the lungs and shit. Whew. I try to give him some flashcards, man. They wasn't feeling that shit at all. I would tune into a Dr. Boyce Watkins video like that. If he just caught his ass whooping, catch your ass whooping, and then let it be known what you did, so that we always kind of look at you like, all right, man, keep in the back of your mind, that's some shit he might be prone to do. You might still have good advice from time to time. I never really hear it, but we know what you about. We've got to start keeping tabs on all the funnies in our community. All the little weird child molestery niggas. All the little weird rapey niggas. All the snitchy niggas. You should know who all the snitches are in your community. You should know. I got a lot of Chinese friends. I got friends that know I can speak a little Mandarin. I got friends that don't know I can speak a little Mandarin. The ones that know, they don't speak Mandarin around me. Because they know. I might pick up something and go tell the homies. So wouldn't it be good? You don't even got to confront the snitch. Just don't talk around him. Wouldn't it be good if you knew who all the snitches were in your community, so nobody ever got caught up? You knew who all the jack boys were. It was just a database of, all right, man, this nigga gonna tell. This is what he's in for. He's an informant. He's been informant for 3 years. He think we don't know. He went upstate for a 10-year bid and came back in 2, and we can't do the math. This nigga's a snitch. We got paperwork on this man. These pro-blacks are giving you the paperwork. But we need checks and balances for that kind of stuff. There's too many scammers. There's actually a whole lot of good black energy going around, right? There's a whole lot of energy behind black entrepreneurship. There's a whole lot of energy behind black unity. There's a whole lot of energy behind black empowerment. And it's people like Watkins, people like Brother Polite, people like Dr. Umar that take advantage of that. And then you think it don't have no bearing on the overall black consciousness until that real one comes along and tries to motivate the people, and ain't nobody trying to hear that shit because they think he's another Boyce Watkins. I feel like Watkins is the worst out of the 3, because at least Brother Polite seems to be scamming for himself. At least Dr. Umar seems to be scamming for himself. Dr. Boyce Watkins is scamming for an Asian man. You're an avatar. So yeah, man, let's focus on that. That's gonna be my number one. This is one of my number one problems I feel we have in the community. We don't have a system of checks and balances to keep these fuck niggas in check. sign off on it.